Hey, badass business owners, we need to talk, and that is about advertising. I mentioned in the last episode that I had a little frustration going on when it came to advertising, and I decided that I was going to take this episode and kind of explain why. First off, before I even dive into this, please know I am very much pro advertising. I am all about you getting word out into your community about your business and working on getting more customers. It's by far, people want two things. They want more customers and they want more profit. And advertising is one of those vehicles in order for you to do it. But I'm also very much into the profit game, which means I'm not into things that cost you profit, things that don't make you money. And here's the problem. So many times people want to throw $50, $100, $500 at advertising things that somebody comes to them and says, hey, I can do this for you and I can get you more sales. And people go, oh, it's just $100. Well, let me tell you, it's not just $100. That's $100 of profit that you are willing to invest in something. Now, that doesn't sound like much, but I want to show you through the numbers because you guys are badass business owners, which means you want to understand your business numbers better. I want to show you how you want to spend that $100. So let's just say for a moment, for giggles, that someone's come to you and they said, hey, I can get you into this local paper thingy for $100 a month. What do you say? And you're like, oh, $100, that doesn't sound that bad. I need some customers. I'm in. Well, you need to go back to your numbers. So the first thing you want to say is, okay, what does my profit line look like? And let's just say you have a decent profit line. You have about a 20% profit line when you're looking at your P&L. Sounds good. No problem. And you're thinking to yourself, hey, I can make this money back quickly. Well, that may be true, but here's what you have to ask yourself. First off, you have to even know how much you need to do in sales in order to just break even. The purpose of marketing and spending money on advertising is to get additional customers, right? Not just to break even, but to get additional customers. Now, keep in mind, in order for you to get your $100 back, it's not just you doing a new $100 sale, because at the end of the day, you still have to pay any cost of goods associated, and you still have to pay the expenses that are going to come from the business that come out of every single sale. So the reality is you're earning this 20% at a time. So if we take our $100 and we divide it by that 20%, it turns out that we need to do $500 in new sales. Now, that might not seem like a lot. It depends upon your business. But let's just say you have a typical sale of $50. That means you have to do 10 jobs just to break even. Now, this means not 10 existing jobs. This is 10 new jobs just to break even. So the first question you want to ask yourself is, how many sales do I have to do in order to break even on this new venture? Now, if this advertising is going to get you 20 new people a month, then it might be worth it, right? Because half of those people are going to go to paying it, and the other half are people you never had before, and your goal is to get them into your system so that they can use you on a monthly basis. Therefore, it may not be a bad piece of advertising. But what happens is a lot of times people are talked into this advertising with promises of cherry plums and rainbows falling from the sky and unicorns and all this other stuff. And the reality is that business who's selling you that ad has no way of identifying and telling you how much. They can tell you how many people you're going to get in front of. You know, for example, in my town, we have a paper that goes out to every household in town. That sounds like a lot of houses. It absolutely is. But what it doesn't tell you is how many of them crack it open and actually look at it and look at those ads, because you got to remember it's a smaller impressions, not just necessarily, who gets it. Whereas opposed to like if a vehicle wrap, its impressions are extremely high because everybody sees it. Whereas on the newspaper ad or in a magazine, they may get the magazine and see it. That counts, but that doesn't mean they see your ad. Whereas in a wrap, which we'll talk about later, they will actually see that. So keep that in mind. Now, sometimes people will come to you with this fantastic thing that for $500 a month, we'll go ahead and we're going to do all your social media and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And it sounds great because you hate doing that stuff. But once again, you got to do the math because you've got to make sure that you figure this out. Now, let's say someone comes to you and they're like, we'll do this social media thing. We'll put some ads out there for you. We'll put you in some different advertising, and it's only going to cost you $1,000 a quarter. Only $1,000. That always sounds funny. Only $1,000 a quarter. This thing's awesome. You gotta do this. And you look at your bottom line and you're like, well, I do have a 25% bottom line. Maybe this isn't so bad. So let's do the math, right? We're going to take that $1,000 and we're going to divide it by the 25% of profit. Because once again, we still have to pay our costs. We still have to pay our expenses. What we have is the 25% of profit that we're giving up in order to be able to buy this advertising. That means it's $4,000, which means your first $4,000 in sales is going to pay for this advertising. So you got to make sure this is $4,000 that come from the work of the people who you're paying the $1,000 to. And let's just say your average ticket is $125. That means your first 32 new sales have to pay for this. And what if you don't get 32 sales from this advertising? Well, it's coming out of your old sales, which means your profit's going to go down because you're not even breaking even on this ad. Now, my goal here is not to talk you out of all these different advertising, but what I want you to do is I want you to go into them with your eyes wide open. I want you to do the math. How are these people going to help ensure that you're getting new customers? Plus, you need to go into it and say, look, if I do this advertising, I don't want just 25 new customers. I don't want to just break even. I need to figure out how can this get me 100 customers. Have some kind of multiple that you're looking for, some kind of number, some kind of target that you and this company can do. I will guarantee you almost every single time I've had a business owner go back and push on these media gurus who charge them $500 a month, $500 a quarter, whatever it is, and ask them how are they going to ensure they get those sales. That's crickets. They have no idea how to track that, and they don't know because they were trained on how to sell you the program, not on how to get you the results. And in many cases, people are very frustrated with it because they get towards the end of the year and they're looking at their year-to-date P&L and they've got $3,000, $4,000 tied up in this advertising, and there's no way in heck they made back that profit that they should have made to be able to pay for it. It just came off their bottom line. Once again, I am all about advertising. I want you to advertise, but I want you to go through the advertising till you get to the one that works. Even when I had my ice cream shop, I ticked off a lot of local advertising because I would try it. It didn't work. I'd cancel it. And eventually I found one that actually had a return and got people into my store. And I stuck with them for the next 3.5 years. But I had to kiss a lot of frogs in order to get to the right one. And yes, made a couple of enemies because I told them flat out, I was not going to continue to pay them that kind of money when I didn't get the results. And they couldn't prove to me they gave me any of those results because guess what? When I stopped paying for it, it didn't hurt at all. The other thing you have to keep in mind with your advertising is sometimes we're just throwing away money to throw away money. And that is the goal to get new sales or is the goal to get the name of your business out there? Is it for branding? For example, when you pay $100 to be on a sign that goes at your local ballpark for the local teams, that's more of a branding issue. Those people aren't going to be sitting in the stands going, oh, I really got to get out there and go use this person, or I need to go do that. Sometimes they might. I mean, if they're looking at a sign for 3 hours that says tacos, 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 they might be craving tacos by the end of the game. That's a little bit different. But if it's for a plumber, they might make a note that, hey, I need to remember this plumber versus, I feel like just changing out my faucet for no reason whatsoever. The odds are they're not going to do that. It's more about branding and for them to see that name over and over. And they what was the name of that company I saw when I was at the game? That's more of what you're buying in that particular type of advertising. So keep in mind, what is the goal for the marketing and what kind of return are you looking to get out of that? Now I want to look at another example and then I'm going to show you one more. So hang with me tight. I know this is I know I'm doing a lot of math, but I think this is important for you to know because I want all of you guys to start doing this. So let's just say someone else comes to you and they've got this fantastic opportunity for you to be on every shopping cart there is. And you're going to get your name out there to thousands of people because everybody shops and they shop at this local grocery store and you think to yourself, oh my God, to be on that cart and have everybody look at my face, that's wonderful. And let's just say it's $500 a month. Well, $500 a month, but yet your bottom line is only 10%. You're not making a lot of money. And you think that if I do a lot more sales, that's going to help me do a lot more money. Well, that is true. You have to run the numbers. So we take the $500 divided by that 10% profit that we have, and we realize we have to do $5,000 in new sales in order for us just to break even. You have to ask yourself, will I make that type of money? Let's say your average ticket's $75. So you take the $5,000 divided by the $75 and it turns out you have to have 66 new jobs. So if this shopping cart adventure is going to get you 66 new jobs just to break even, then it's probably worth it. But at the end of the day, you don't want that. You want more than that. And you have to ask yourself, can you do that? I also know sometimes people will ask me, well, Tammy, you keep poo-pooing all the different stuff and ideas that I have. I'm not doing that. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying have realistic expectations that you may never see that $100 a month back, that you're giving it up out of your pocket and your business's profitability to try something. And you need to try something. There's always something that works. Sometimes it's your message. Sometimes you have a really crappy message that you're doing. And you remember, people don't have a lot of time to read, so don't make it overcomplicated. Less is more in advertising. Focus on your ideal customer. Make sure that the advertising that you're doing is going to the people that you want. If you are targeting 55 plus people, then find some advertising that goes into their community. Don't blanket your entire community if your ultimate goal is 55 plus, because yes, there might be folks all over the community that are 55 plus, but if you focus and target on the 55 plus community specifically, your odds go up dramatically that somebody in there is going to want to use you or your services because you're focusing on that. The second thing is make sure your advertising focuses on their pain point. What are you trying to solve in that advertising? Don't try to say you do 50 different things. They're never going to read it all. Pick one thing, maybe two, but pick one thing specifically and how you plan to solve that for them. Be smart in the advertising that you're doing. Don't try to throw everything in the kitchen sink at them, as none of it is going to stick. Once again, you need to have a plan. Don't just throw the $100 out there thinking it's going to solve everything. It's not going to do it. It needs to have a plan. Now, earlier I mentioned a vehicle wrap. I am a huge fan of vehicle wraps, and they're becoming more and more popular as you go on. And I had one when I had my ice cream shop. I drove around and my Ford 150 got wrapped with ice cream all over it. Pink truck, lots of ice cream, big old pieces of ice cream on it. And I brought so much attention. People were constantly telling me they didn't even know I existed in town. And I live in a small town. They didn't even know we existed. And obviously people were going, oh, I really want a sundae. Oh, I want that cake. I want this. It really worked. I became a big fan. Now you have to be careful because everybody's looking at you, especially if you're driving around in a giant truck that looks like it's got ice cream on it. All the kids thought I had ice cream inside of the truck. But look at your own town. Are there people out there that have their vehicles wrapped and you can tell that, you see them everywhere and it seems like they have a bunch of trucks and the reality is they have one or two, if that. And people tend to remember those people. And when they see their stuff, they already have a sense of trust because they've seen them so much in their community. Now, vehicle wraps are not cheap. You're going to be spending anywhere from $3,000 to $7,000 depending upon your vehicle, how many cuts it has to do, how big it is, all these different things. But here is the really neat thing about a vehicle wrap. Play with me for a second here. Let's just say we'll go $5,000. And $5,000 is a lot of money. And I want you to be debt free. So I'm asking you to save up $5,000 and spend it on this. But most vehicle wraps are not something that goes into a newspaper, thrown on a counter, and then eventually tossed. The vehicle wrap's going to last probably around 5 years for most people. Sometimes it might be a little bit less if you've got like a lot of sun like we do here in Arizona, but let's just say for 5 years. If you take that $5,000 and you divide it out by the 5 years that you're going to have this advertising over and over and over, that's about $83 a month. That's less than the $100 you're throwing at stuff that doesn't get any kind of impressions. Vehicle wraps are known to get millions and millions of views over the course of the time that that vehicle is wrapped. And you can't pay for those types of impressions because, like I said, if a magazine shows up, you need them to open up the magazine to get the impression. Whereas on your vehicle, they're behind you at the light, they're seeing you down the street, they're seeing you at the gas station, they're seeing you over and over. So you're getting a lot more impressions. So therefore, you're getting a lot more eyeballs, if you will, on it. Now, let's say your bottom line is 20%. Well, if you take the $5,000 times the 20%, that means you got to get an additional $25,000 in sales. And in the beginning, that's like, ouch, that really hurts. Yes, that's your first $25,000 in sales is going to pay for that vehicle wrap. But remember, this is a 5-year investment. That means that it just has to add $416 a month in new sales in order for you to break even. And the odds are your vehicle wrap is going to more than do that $416, especially the more impressions that you get. In the beginning, you may not get as many. You might get some because it's new. People are seeing it. But as over the course of time, and people see it over and over and over, and then once again, people don't need you till they need you. When they need you, they're going to go, oh, what's the name of that truck I see all the time? What's on that van I see all of the time? There's some people out there that have some beautiful beautiful wraps. I mean, you see some dog people who do dog grooming have some beautiful wraps out there. Air conditioning guys do a lot of wraps. Plumbers do a lot of wraps. And you don't have to be limited on your business. You can do pretty much any business as a vehicle wrap. You actually go to them and they help you design them and everything else. Just remember, once again, less is more. Don't put everything in the kitchen sink on the thing. You got to remember, they have like a few seconds that they're going to be behind you in a light or seeing you at the grocery store. You want to have what it is, what pain point you solve, who you solve, what it is that you do, and a big phone number. So they can snap a picture of it, because more than likely, I mean, we've all done it at one point, is we looked at someone's truck or van and we snapped a picture to get the phone number and to capture it. So don't put on there a laundry list of the 20 things that you do, because they're never going to read any of that. Stick with the 1, 2, or maybe 3 things that are the most popular things that you do. This isn't an episode on vehicle wraps. It's just part of that whole advertising conversation, because I'm going to start wrapping this up here. No pun intended. But please know where your money is going. Please know that if you're going to spend $100, know what it is you need to get in return. If you're going to spend $150, if you're going to spend $50, if you're going to spend $5,000, divide it by the percentage of what your bottom line profitability is, and that's going to let you know how much you need to make. And just know that your very first sales are going to all go towards paying that. $100 is not a $100 sale. It is the percentage of profit, because you still have your costs and expenses that have to come out of that particular sale. I just want you to know where your money's going. And like I said, I sit down and I do these P&L reviews with people, and I always stop at that expense line on advertising. And whether I talk about it or not, it just depends upon what it looks like. But I can't tell you that when I do get into the conversation about advertising, how many people are spending money on advertising that they have no idea what their return on their investment is going to be. And there are some advertising methods that are way more profitable than other ones. It just depends, because your town is going to have certain ones. There's nationally some different ones. Even at franchise, by the way, I had a franchise, and my franchise fees, I spent a lot of money for advertising with my franchise. None of that national stuff got people in my store. None of those put butts in my chairs. What got people into my store was the local advertising that I did. So I had this crazy advertising budget for the franchise, but then I had my own advertising budget for my local community, because I knew that's what was going to get people into my store. And I want to make sure that each of you guys understand those are precious advertising dollars. That's what's going to get people to use your business. I want you to be smart about how you spend that money. That's my biggest takeaway. Divide it by what your profitability is. Know what the number is. Divide it by what your average ticket is. That's going to tell you how much you need how many new customers you need to create in order for you to make some money. Hopefully my examples helped you out today. With that, I'm going to wrap this puppy up and I'm going to get out of here, because you guys are going to go start spending your money more wisely, because this is a profit game. This is not a sales game. This is a profit game, but we need sales in order to make it work. So yes, we need more customers, but we need customers that lead to profit, not customers that take away our money. And that's the biggest thing we want to keep in mind. All right, with that, I am out of here, and I will talk to you on the next episode. Bye for now. Hey, badass business owner, before you go, as you know, I'm a huge believer in you knowing your business numbers. After all, it isn't about how much you sell, it's about what you keep. And the best way to grow your profits is to start diving in and understanding those business numbers. To help you on this journey, I have created the Know Your Business Numbers course. We will walk through how to read your profit and loss statement. You'll learn the key calculations that'll help ensure that you're making a healthy profit on all of your products or services, plus a ton of other good stuff that'll help you learn how to use those business numbers to create even more sales and profits. Just check out the link below in the show notes, or visit knowyourbusinessnumberscourse.com. So if you're ready to increase those profits, it's time you start diving into your business numbers.